Good morning! Good morning, everybody. It is time for day 13 of Coffee and MTG with Nikachu. This is Nikachu. We're gonna have some good discussions here today. Good morning, Chris. And yeah, we're gonna talk some Magic as usual. We're gonna keep doing this while we're all quarantined because if we all have to stay at home, we got to keep each other company. And I think this is like one of the absolute best ways of doing it. So, good morning to everybody. A lot of exciting stuff happening in the Magic world. A lot of good opinions being thrown around. I never made a video really about the vintage banning, but the vintage and legacy banning. I should really get onto that because it really shows the precedent of like how powerful Lurrus, particularly Lurrus, is in the in Magic, period. Usually things get banned from standard and then onward. Okay, this is too powerful for standard, we're gonna ban it. Okay, now this is a little bit too powerful for pioneer and modern, we're gonna ban it. And then it seeps its way to like being restricted in vintage. It's actually happened the opposite way around this time. Lurrus ends up getting banned in vintage and legacy, showing the power level of this card in those formats, how they think it's acceptable in the other formats. Whoa. Something to be questioning, I'm sure. So we just have to wait. We still have to wait it out for them to fix modern. They're gonna do it. They're gonna do it. 100%. No, absolutely guaranteed. I am setting myself up to read all your questions. Yes. Good morning, Chris. Good morning, Kyoka66. You're not early, Gavin. You're perfectly here on time. You're as early as I am. I mean, I just started this thing. Good morning, Gavin. Good morning, Lassie. Good morning, Hunter. Good morning, Olivier. Gotta hold on. Gotta pour a fresh cup. You start pouring that fresh cup. I wouldn't say I have the freshest cup, but it's still quite a full cup of coffee I have on my hands. So remember, as usual, I'm here to help you, be as valuable to you as possible. If you have any questions for me, I'm here to give you answers. And remember, the new format now is give me triple question mark at the beginning, triple question mark at the end, or just like a bunch of question marks, just so that I can see what is a question and I don't have to dig as hard looking for all of your questions as I read through the comments. So we can like grind through more questions per day when we do these live chats, and we don't have as much dead time as I'm like scrolling through all the comments, reading everything. Is this a question? Is this a question? Is there a question? Is there a question mark in here? So remember, so try at the beginning and at the end, triple question mark, and that will make it, make your question stand out and help me find it. Good morning, Sky Throne. Gavin Stewart, I'm working on foiling out my modern deck right now. Any advice? Take it. Okay, so foiling out the deck, I do mean to make some sort of like foil deck guide, because I think the very first thing you have to understand when you start foiling out a deck is that it is a never-ending process. And initially, I would say you better have relatively deep pockets. You're gonna be really committed to this. You're gonna be committed to foiling out the deck, and that's fine. If you love your deck, you are going to be with it for at least, I don't know, at least 3 years going on into the future, 3, 4, 5. But the problem I think a lot of people have when they start foiling out their deck is they imagine the price of the deck based on what they see immediately, like at this very moment. Like, okay, if I foil out this entire deck, it might be like around $2,000. But in reality, it's way higher than that because, for example, new cards can get printed that you need to get in foil. The metagame adjusts over the years, and so you might start having to adopt older cards that you need in foil. I would just say it's a lot more expensive than it looks, and that's fine if you can pay for it. But I think there's a lot of people who think, okay, the deck. Okay, I'm gonna start foiling out the deck, and I'm gonna do it slowly, and they realize, well, this is like a lot. It's much more expensive than they think. And that also might be fine if you can tolerate having some cards as non-foil, which sometimes can be problematic in a competitive setting. For example, if 100% of your deck is foil, except, say, Force of Negation for Merfolk, some judges might not like that. You might have to ask the judge's approval. if that's okay. Because like, okay, at a casual level, no one cares, but at a competitive level, you know, players will be like, Nikachu, you should know better. You might be able to get an advantage if you can like somehow tell that the top card is like not a foil. I would say not non-foils are not as big of a problem as select cards being foil. Like if the only 4 cards in my deck foil were Ether Vial, that would be a problem because it's so much stiffer and it makes a big difference than all the other. You can really feel it amongst all your other cards in your deck. Whereas trying to look for non-foil cards, not nearly as easy. So I would tell you from my experience, be patient, you know, look for deals. Some other things, I would be patient to get near mints over slightly played because, you know, the difference between buying a near mint and slightly played from the vendor might not be a big difference. But if there comes a day you have to sell these cards, there's a huge gap between what a vendor will pay for near mint and what a vendor will pay for slightly played or lower. So I would say if you're gonna buy a played card, like at any degree, then make sure it's like MP or something. Like it's foil, but it looks good in a sleeve because it's just garbage. Because I think there's just a big difference between near mint and like just like the slightest ding or something like that. So I would say if you're gonna buy either super near mint or maybe like super crap. I do have like a lot of crap foils. I can't remember what I have foil that is crap, like some unified. I bought unified wills for like they were badly conditioned for $5 each, but I didn't care. They were really cheap at the time. Or I don't remember what I paid for them. Maybe it was $1. But they were all beat up. And like I don't care. And so those are things that I consider because there might come a time where you do want to sell the deck. You don't feel like you are committed to it for life, and you want to get a good price for it. So like invest an extra, I don't know, smidge of a percent to get the near mint over the slightly played because you're gonna get hosed by the vendors when you try to sell back a slightly played foil versus near mint. It's a big deal. So I might as well get a bigger discount. If I have something that's like not perfect, I might as well get a bigger discount by buying like a much crappier conditioned card. What else? Make sure that they're double sleeved almost all the time, even in your binder. Make sure, do they need to be double sleeved in your binder? They need to at least be sleeved at least once. Of course, keep them out of humidity. That's very, very important because they can curl. Also, don't be afraid that if they curl, like foils just curl. If you're playing with them on a regular basis and you're shuffling with them and you're keeping them flat, the curves do like flatten out. I think all my entire foil deck has like a very slight bend. It's just pretty normal for foils. It doesn't mean like it's slightly played or anything like that. Oh, don't mix sleeves. I mean, you could just say that for anything, for even like a regular deck. Don't mix the sleeves. What can I recommend? Don't make sure that the inner sleeve is not too tight that it bends, like it actually bends the thing. I don't think they design them anymore, but just in case a brand will be like way too tight, that's not good. You don't want it to intentionally bend the foil. I guess that's about it. That's all I can like offer at the moment for foiling out your deck. Just have the right expectations, because I think a lot of people are like, oh, this is really cool, let's foil out the deck. They realize, oh, this is a lot more expensive than I thought it was gonna be, and then they said they screw it, they abandon it. Because I love foils. Like, what can I say? Foiling out the deck is playing in foils is a lot more fun than playing without foils. So I would know, and any foil monger out there can understand the same. So there's that. All right, we got a super chat. Thank you very much, Heart. Super chat. Daniel Poppy. Hi, Nikachu. How's your coffee today? It is delicious. It is the Nescafe Dark Roast. Oh, I forgot to tag Nescafe today. So my plan is we're going to tag Nescafe for like a month. If they don't sponsor me, screw it. I'm not ever mentioning Nescafe again. You got to pay me to keep talking about Nescafe. My coffee is great. So could you explain how to keep or mulligan with Simic Merfolk against Mono Red Burn? Your channel rocks. Ooh, how can I do this in words? I would love to tell you. So I would definitely So first, I would try to keep almost anything. I don't want to mulligan too far when it comes to Simic Merfolk or just any Merfolk deck against Burn because it is an attrition-based battle. They basically, like every Burn spell is a removal spell. So you need to have like more cards than they have Burn spells to kill them. So in general, I do want to try to keep like 7-card hands, 6-card hands. I don't want to mulligan too aggressively. It's sort of like as if I was up against a Jund deck. However, there are hands I do want to mulligan with Simic Merfolk because it might be too painful. Like if I've got 2 Waterlog Groves in my hand, that is not good news. Or I might even shy away against some in some hands where I have like 1 Waterlog Grove and I don't know, Ether Vial. I just know that this is going to be a painful hand. We gotta throw it away. Hands with fetch lands are difficult, but because you have to pay life. Hands with shock lands, not so bad because you have the decision whether you pay life or not. So on the play, I could go turn 1 Breeding Pool, not take any life at all, but you can't do that with a fetch land. Now, not that I would say that I would mulligan a hand with a fetch land, but you know, like hands that have too much damage, you have to maybe consider like throwing away. What else can I say about specifically Simic Merfolk? Because Simic Merfolk more or less is like just a random creature deck minus Master of Waves, and I understand like that is very difficult to win with. I would prioritize something like Shaper Sanctuary in my hand. Like I would really like to keep a hand with Shaper Sanctuary. It's the one for a green. It's an enchantment. If a creature is targeted, you draw a card. So, like, if they keep targeting your creatures, you keep drawing cards. And like I said, part of this battle against Burn is trying to have a higher threat density than they have cards. Because you know what? I have no problem blocking their Goblin Guides, blocking their Eidolons, blocking Swift Spear, so long as I kill it. And in the long run, I will draw into enough threats to beat them. But we need the threat density to do that. I wouldn't say Chalice of the Void is amazing in the matchup, but I do like it. So a lot still depends on your sideboard and the sideboard cards. But like I said, the more or less, I try to keep almost anything because I do not want to mulligan too greedily. Like I don't want to be too greedy with my mulligans. Don't keep any clunky hands, of course. If your hand is just like, I'm gonna play 1 thing a turn, that might not be good enough. So like if let's say you have a clunky hand with Waterlog Grove, I might toss that back. Because you're always going to be tapping out, taking damage from that Waterlog Grove. That's not good. You don't want to be in a spot where you're like consistently taking damage from Waterlog Grove and you're like, you can't even get 2 threats onto the board a turn. That's not where you want to be. I might be willing to take damage if I can get multiple threats on the board a turn. So like let's say I have Ether Vial, plus I'm playing creatures with Waterlog Grove. That might be worth it, but otherwise I just can't be taking that damage over and over again. But I hope that was good enough advice. Is Simic Merfolk versus Burn? Tough matchup. I will admit, tough matchup because you usually don't have access to Master of Waves. If you can run it in Simic Merfolk, but in general there's a lot of lists where we didn't. We're running low on like, we don't have Curse Catcher, we're running low on Spreading Seizes. The whole Simic deck is not really built to beat Burn, so I understand that you might be looking for an edge there. It's really going to have to come in the form of sideboard cards than the mulligan decisions. But in general, I would shy away from clunky hands that will take a lot of damage, and but still try to keep any hand that has threats in it, period, because you don't want to go too low in general. Another super chat. Thank you, Lantern. Thank you very much, Lantern, for the super chat. I gotta go back. I gotta get back to work. You know, believe it or not, people still work during the quarantine. But wanted to say hi. Thank you very much, Lantern, saying hi back. All right, let's get back to the questions. Hello, Grog. Good morning, Mikey J. Cash Cap for Life. Got my Tims ready, and I'm sifting through cards. That's a lot of fun. You know, the old, let's enjoy a coffee and tea, and then start going through, your collection, looking for that gold, just looking to see what you have in inventory. Beautiful, love it. Who loves looking through their collection? Okay, there's 2 things. You like looking through your collection, or you like looking through bulk? Do you like either? Do you like both? Do you like one or the other? I have to say I don't do it very often, but if a year passes, I like looking through my bulk just to see what's it called? If Hey, like maybe I own a Mishra's Bauble for some reason, you know? You never know when like random cards spike. At the time it was trash, but now it's like really, really good. Oh, we got another super chat. Chris Yedinak, thank you very much. All the love to the super chats. Good morning. Did you see that Corey Tribal deck in the 5-0 dump yesterday? Deck looks fun. Stoneforge, Giver of Runes, and Colossal Hammer. I did not see that. I did not see that deck in the recent 5-0 dump. But it most definitely could be something. Like core is, I don't know how to say it, but there are so many tribal decks that are unexplored. Like there could very realistically be a shaman tribal deck right now. I remember someone brewing shaman tribal in modern a long time ago, and I lost to it. It had a lot, and when I talk a long time ago, I'm talking like 5 years ago. So there are all sorts of tribes that are just, I don't know, people are just not trying it. And right now, humans have proven that 5 colors is possible. Like, we've got the mana, people. Between Ancient Ziggurat and Unclaimed Territory, Cavern of Souls, there is perhaps a lot of... We gotta, like, look at all the core cards, like, sorry, not the core cards, the tribal cards, even if they come from different colors, bring them together, could be a really powerful deck. I'm imagining this core tribal deck, however, is mono-white. And I don't remember what Colossal Hammer is. Let's look up Colossal Hammer. Colossal Hammer! Maybe I know it, but I just have not seen it in a long time. Imagine it's an equipment that can be fetched by stone. Equipped creature gets +10/+10 and loses flying. Wow! Oh, but it has equip 8. So how do you get that thing on? If it has equip 8? Did I miss something? Giver of Runes and Colossal. There probably is some way to like cheat the thing onto a creature. Really powerful card. What's really cool is that like it's very, well, it's not easy to equip, but if you can equip it very easily, you know, grab it, put it into play, boom, destroy them. So maybe there's some innovation here. I don't know if Colossal Hammer will still see play in the long run. However, you know, Stoneforge Mystic has not... I don't know if we've seen the tip of the iceberg with Stoneforge Mystic yet. I know a lot of people just wanted to jam it into mostly Bant Stoneblade. Well, okay, to be fair, it was played in a lot of current archetypes, but it has not been played in any new archetypes that maybe have been really built for Stoneforge Mystic. Stoneforge Mystic mostly has been an addition to a lot of current archetypes. That's fine, but maybe there is a maybe there's a better deck that can be built around Stoneforge Mystic. So did not see the deck, but no doubt this deck has something to it. And we'll like wait and see if it can get more 5-0s to prove that it has what it takes to actually stay in the format. And you know, even if it isn't right now, it potentially could be changed by say 4 or 8 cards to stay in the metagame. All right, so let's get back to, where was I? Okay, so where's the questions? Tobias Markert. Do you truly believe that Wizards needs more time on Modern and Pioneer? Yes, they took their time with other bannings, but we questioned those were times for the same reasons. So I don't look at the companion situation like it is a Hogak Eldrazi Winter situation, because in both of those metagames, basically the metagame dried up to only like just 1 to 2 decks. Like we saw with Eldrazi Winter, it was just Eldrazi, and then the other decks in the format were other versions of Eldrazi. Whereas in the Hogak meta, there were, I think, 3 viable archetypes. We had Hogak, we had Mono Red Prowess, and I'm missing one. There was like something else that was like playable in the metagame. Maybe it was Tron or something. Maybe it was Tron or something. I can't remember. Those are dangerous metagames. Those are code red, ban something, because like no one is allowed to even remotely exist. Oh, Wurza. Maybe it was Wurza. Anyway, those metagames, maybe that needs an emergency ban. Whereas I'm looking at the companions like it is an Oko metagame. Okay, maybe you don't like the metagame, but like it's a format. It's a format. It's playable. You know, play Oko or don't play Oko. There were a huge variety of decks. It was a format to play. I personally liked it a lot. maybe you don't like it, you have to like you have to sit out of it for a little while, or you pick up a deck that did not require Oko to be competitive, something like Mono Red Prowess. Mono Red Prowess didn't need to splash for Oko. So, but it's playable. Like there were like 15 decks that were like good and playable in the Oko metagame. And I still see the same thing with the Lurrus metagame. It's not ideal. It deserves to be banned. It's going to happen eventually, but for the time being, Wizards is just going to let people who enjoy the format right now play it. There's still a lot of people playing Modern right now. It's not at the peak, not nearly at the level of the peak. I know it's upsetting a lot of people. I totally get that. I totally understand that. But it's playable. It's not emergency banning territory. They'll just let us do whatever with the format for a few months, then make the appropriate adjustments. But the point is, you know, it hasn't dissolved to like 2 decks or two to 3 decks as we have seen in the Oko Summer and Eldrazi Winter. That would be my how I would define the difference between like Code Red ban it now versus ban it in 2 months or something. But good question, especially since a lot of people are very curious about that. You know, a lot of people, I imagine, are waiting on Modern to get fixed, Modern to get adjusted. And yeah, they're definitely going to do it. Like, they're definitely going to do it, but they're just going to take a little bit of time. Just going to take a little bit of time. And it's not like Wizards needs more time. It's just like, I don't know, it's just their policy. That's all. Remember, everyone, if you want your questions answered, remember, give the either like 3 question marks at the beginning and end of your question. It makes it a lot easier for me to find the questions. Not an MTG question, but what's a day in Nikachu life usually look like? Favorite show to stream? My favorite show to stream? Okay, so the day in the life of Nikachu, in the morning, usually I'm either, like right now, okay, I'll just tell you what I did this morning. I started editing today's video. Usually I do that at the end of the day. I edit a video, I export it, and then I upload it to YouTube, and then I go to sleep, and then when I wake up, it's already uploaded, and then in the morning, generally what I do is now I make the thumbnail for the video, I curate the name of the video, I give it a description, I get it all ready for getting published, so that when it's ready, I can either publish it immediately, or I do one of these first live, and then later I will publish it a little bit later. So usually that's what I'm doing in the morning. The stuff I stream, I don't really watch a lot of Magic content, to be brutally honest. I watch a lot of YouTube content. I watch a lot of marketing content. I watch a lot of stuff from Think Media. I watch a lot of stuff from, what's it called? What am I watching pretty live often? Oh man, why is the name? Gary Vaynerchuk. So I watch a lot of him. A lot of stuff for basically to help contribute to the YouTube channel. And right now I'm digesting a lot of information on Twitch. I'm trying to get to know exactly everything that everyone else knows about Twitch. What are the best, you know, I'm trying to grab all the opinions and strategies from multiple different streamers, a lot of different resources to make my own. What's my favorite podcast? Do I watch a podcast? Maybe I don't know, Gary with Tea with Gary? Like, that's what Gary Vaynerchuk's podcast is. I don't watch it a whole lot. I just started getting into it. Because he's basically, like, this almost was invented out of another influencer who copied another influencer who ended up copying Gary Vaynerchuk. So there's a lot of big social media influencers doing these sort of live streams. And I was like, hey, do you know what? Let's just do that with Magic too. Like, why not? I'm already copying someone who copied someone who copied someone who copied someone else. And they're all named like, you know, Coffee with Cannell, Tea with Gary. So now we got Coffee and MTG with Nikachu. So that's basically, that's what I consume a lot of if I'm in my downtime. Just look up something about thumbnails, look up something about titles, look up something about streams. What are successful streamers doing? I digest a lot of this information. Not really Magic related. I don't digest a whole lot of Magic content. If Rudy has a non-box opening video, I would watch it. I don't watch any of his box opening things because I don't really care. Maybe I'm missing out on something. If someone can let me know. I'm just curious to know what he says about, you know, I'm just curious about the financial aspect of Magic. Not that I speculate or anything. Cash Cat. Hold on, where are we here? That was Cash Cat for Life's question. So Gavin Stewart, can you show your modern deck right now? Okay, I'll show a little bit of it. It's like in a binder. I don't have the deck. I don't have the deck like pieced out into like a deck. It's in a binder. So I'll just quickly show like a little bit of the binder. Give me 1 second. I'll be back. I'm coming back in a second. Yeah, everyone loves the dead airtime. I'll say, here's Nikachu's binder. I don't know what this is an Ultimate Guard 4x3 or something. It's got the Nikachu sticker on it. You can get that from Teespring. Actually, the sticker was pretty good. I was very impressed with the sticker quality and the cut. It was nice. Very satisfied with the sticker. Great sticker. Okay, I don't know how well this is gonna go. So here's the Lord page. Well, I don't know the Lord page. Like the super staples. Like these are super staples. And I could have got a fancier binder, but frankly, this is all that was available at my favorite local game store, Fusion Gaming, and I didn't want to order something online and wait for it. So this is what I got. So what we got here? We got Master of Waves, Force Negations. Like I'm not playing any paper Magic right now, so basically everything is in a binder. Here's like all the 2-drops. Ugh. Here's, I don't know, stuff. We have Brineborn Cutthroat. You never know when Brineborn Cutthroat is going to be a thing. Yeah, Lord Magicus has the same thing. And I I used to have a 4x2 binder because it was just easier to fit into it was just easier to fit in with the bag that I had at the time, but now I use a backpack, so I don't mind using the 4x3 binder. And I mean, everything is presented well in 4s. Like I would never use a 3x whatever. So I'll just show all the merfolk. And then I'm gonna save the rest for, we got Coral Helm Commander. I have 4. Okay, I have 4. I didn't know I had 4. I only have 3 Water Trap Weaver. Oh my God, what is going on here? Only 3 Water Trap Weaver? Whatever, it's probably, it may not see play for a long time. It may not see play for a long time again anyway. All right, Antoine Janku. Hey, Nikachu, do you think it's safe to buy into Neo Brand? No, I don't. How may I put it? They won't ban anything from the deck as it stands right now. They won't ban anything in the deck as it stands right now, so that's safe. But the problem with Neo Brand is, if there comes a day that they print a card that now puts this deck way over the top, it's a goner. It's just a goner. So much depends on what that enabler is. If that enabler is so unique to that deck, like maybe they could just ban it itself, and then Neo Brand just becomes the deck that it used to be. Maybe that could happen. But if it's like a card that maybe a few more archetypes use, and it's just like a good, useful card in those archetypes, but somehow it puts Neo Brand over the top, they will ban Allosaurus Rider. It's a deck that just breaks all the rules of what Modern is. Not OP, like it is not, it can win on turn 1, but it's just not winning often enough. It is like the show and tell of Modern, and somehow it still has to really fight for its wins, because between Grafdigger's Cage and Force Negation, this deck has trouble winning. It does. There are actually surprisingly a lot of answers to it. I thought it would just completely take over Modern, but it just didn't. So you just have to buy it knowing that one day, it will get axed. I know it's a weird deck to buy into. It's got a lot of funny cards that are very unique to that archetype. And that's why I said Wizards should just ban the deck, period, because anyone who buys into it is going to be grossly disappointed when it gets banned. And I heard from many sources that did buy into Neo Brand that they did it with the expectation that it will get banned one day. They just want to enjoy the deck for what it is right now. So if I buy into that deck, that is the perspective that I would take. You're paying X amount of money into a deck. And by the way, it's not all garbage. I mean, the lands are still useful. I don't know what other expensive pieces that are still good. Summoner's Pact is still going to be useful. So there are pieces of this deck that are still going to be valuable, even if the deck gets banned. But just do it understanding it can get axed one day. This is not a fair deck. Fair decks don't really get punished all that much. It's the unfair decks that one day get punished. So I would still play it with the expectation that I could buy into it. It's safe today. We don't know at what point, what time, which set will put it over the top. Could be next set, could be a year from now, could be 2 years from now. I don't know, but it is like just missing a little something from going boom. And that's all I have to say about that. So good luck if you want to buy into that archetype. Remember, if you want questions answered, 3 question marks before and after. Got to make it a convention now. Just makes it very easy for me to find all the next question. Jorge Yarza, Nikachu, I went away from Modern because I'm not rich, and I just played Mono Green Stompy and Black Green Elves with Collected Company. Which deck is competitive and doesn't put mortgage on my house? I would investigate a budget version of Mono Red Prowess, because most of the cost of that deck is in the lands. Things like Soulscar Mage, Monastery Swiftspear, and Light Up the Stage, stuff like that. Not brutal. It really isn't that bad. You could also maybe look into a budget version of Bogles, but I don't know exactly how expensive that is. The fact of the matter is, and I do mean to make some video out of this, Wizards, I think, is going to push Modern to be the luxury format. It's going to be even more and more difficult to play this format on a budget. I think fetch lands are going to be the new reserve list cards. They saw, like, people knew that Legacy was the expensive format, and it was still really popular. Like, Legacy was so popular, except there was a breaking point where it was too expensive for people. People started selling out because they need the money, and then as the price of the cards keep rising, they can't really buy back in, even if they wanted to. Wizards can control that with reprints. They may not let fetch lands go to 0, but they'll make sure that they're at like some level that are affordable to, I don't know, to a privileged group of Magic players, but is not, but it doesn't get to some like super elitist group. So I think what's going to happen is it's going to be tough to play Modern on a budget, and the format that's going to be easier to play on a budget might be Pioneer. They're going to, because the cards in general are going to be cheaper. Maybe they'll start printing more lands, and then you can have a wider range of decks that you can build with those mana bases. But there's still going to be some things, like I still consistently build Merfolk for less than $100. So if you want to play on a budget, that's fine. If you don't want to play on a budget, I think the strongest decks right now, Boggles with a budget mana base, and Mono Red Prowess on a budget mana base. Those are probably the cheapest ways to get like a very powerful deck in Modern today. But just today, I don't know what it looks like after Aluris is banned. After Aluris is banned, Prowess will still be a deck. Prowess will 100% be a deck, but I cannot guarantee that Boggles will still be a deck, because maybe people will start sleeving up Liliana the Veil and edicting you again. Which was a problem for the Boggles player. Where? Magic Snaffo. Do you think that an aggro affinity deck can still be playable in Modern without Mox Opal? I've always stayed away from affinity because the Mox, but now it seems kind of budget. I would love someone to try to develop a proper affinity deck for today's metagame, because there are a lot. First off, if I were to build the aggro affinity, I don't know if I would call it aggro. I still might make it like a tempo deck, because it still has good cards. I think Signal Pest is still good. What's it called? Arcbound Ravager is still good. Steel Overseer still good. Like these cards are still good. I would add Emery and Urza. I would love to see someone make a blue affinity deck in today's metagame, and it may have it might be just, it won't be nearly as fast because you don't have that incentive to go all out and fast, but you can grind people out. You can still grind people out. You still have evasion. You can still play with cranial plating. And you could have infinite cranial platings with with Emery. You can still utilize So between Emery and potentially Urza, I think there might be something there to bring back the old Affinity deck to prominence, but I don't think anyone's even tried to do that. Second option, add Ether Vial. Costly way of experimenting, but maybe that can help it. The problem with Ether Vial is I think those cards still get shut down pretty hard by Karn the Great Creator, whereas if you have Urza, you still might have some game even without the even when Karn the Great Creator is out. You know, Emery and Urza can still like do something. I don't know if it does anything of impact, but it still does something. And you know, blue has a lot of things to offer. You could start. I don't know if you'd really play Force Negation because you may not have enough blue cards for that. But point is, after a card gets banned, no one tried to innovate. No one tried. Is basically how it is. It might be possible. It might be possible. Anything is possible if you can get the right minds behind it, and you want to take the time to make it happen. Unfortunately, I'm not the Affinity player to try to make the adjustments to make it work, because like it's gotta. I would say the number one barrier is not the lack of Mox Opal. The number one barrier is Karn the Great Creator. And when you have blue, you have access to things like Ceremonious Rejection. So you have access to counterspells. So between Ceremonious Rejection, maybe Force Negation, you can have enough to fight back against Karn the Great Creator. I am not, because like you look at Hardened Scales Affinity right now, they can live very easily without Mox Opal. I lost a million times to Affinity against hands where they didn't have Mox Opal. That deck was just hard to interact with. You can't block it. It had a lot of advantages outside of Mox Opal. I think there's still something to it today. Although I have to admit, like, there's a lot more hate cards for it. Like, they printed tons of hate cards in Modern Horizons between Collector Roof and other stuff. So you have to make sure you have to make sure that you can play around all those other hate cards. Pablo Valasiani, why the Death and Taxes guys stopped uploading videos? They're just busy with life. Content creation is hard and it's very time consuming. And thankfully, because I am so well supported that I can do this on a regular basis, because I mean, it's basically a part of my income. And but it's tough. It's really tough. And especially in the early stages where you're not being supported so well, you have to like you basically have to donate your time to making all those videos. So I don't know what their attitude right now is about Magic. Like, I'm still hungry for Magic. I still love Magic. It's still a huge part of my life. I don't mind grinding it every day. I don't know what it's like for them. So, you know, passion plays a part in it as well. Because if you're not passionate about the content that you're making at that very time, then it's very hard to make the content. You know, I know there's a lot of people that really burn out because they just don't love what they're doing anymore. So I mean, there's a lot of I don't really know. I'm not super close to them, but you know, life got in the way for sure. Daniel Wilcox, I won't say Modern is a rotating format, but do you think that people are justified in their anger / disappointment over the course Wizards has taken regarding their fire design choices in 2019, 2020? Absolutely, absolutely. So there was I couldn't find the interview because I really wanted it, but there was a guy from R&D that said we shouldn't be making cards for Modern or Legacy. And he said this something like 5 or 6 years ago. It was a really old interview. And he said, you know, we've made some good cards for Legacy. They made Abrupt Decay for Counterbalance, or the Sensei's Divining Top deck, like basically the Miracles deck in Legacy, so that you have some way of defeating Counterbalance and then, you know, pushing through spells to resolve. They designed Abrupt Decay for that reason, but they also designed a ton of blunders. They designed Mental Misstep for Legacy, completely awful card. They designed Deathrite Shaman, which at the time was legal, but got banned in Modern, and he was asking the community, like, how do you really feel about Deathrite Shaman in Legacy? How do you feel about this card? They are printing a lot of cards. When they were printing cards for the non-rotating formats, this one guy said, we shouldn't do this anymore. We should just build cards for a normal standard. Like, you could make crappy cards for standard that are powerful for standard but are not powerful for modern or legacy. That's probably the approach that they should take. Like, if they just water down, they can design standard in a way where a garbage card suddenly is great in its own environment. They don't need to push cards that are so strong that they start really moving and shaking other formats. I think they should also be much more aggressive on printing well, okay, I used to think that they should be more aggressive printing answers than they print proactive things, but as we've seen with the design of the Planeswalkers from War of the Spark, that may not actually be the case, because they are the answers to a lot of problems. Narset prevents people from drawing through their entire deck. Karn the Great Creator is a shuts down affinity, and maybe the real problem is that it's a one-sided effect, it's not a global effect. But so like this guy says we should only print the best cards that move to modern and legacy are the ones that are organic. They just happen to be good from they just happen to be adopted into modern and legacy, but they were not designed for those formats. So I thought that was very, very interesting, and he named like a bunch of cards that have been banned now in Legacy and Modern because they were designed for those formats, but they're just not good at designing those cards. They're just not good at it. And we see now with Modern Horizons that like his prophecy came true, and I can't remember what this guy's name was, but it's really true. R&D just cannot build cards balanced enough for Modern or Legacy. So what they really should do is always have probably a watered down standard, but in standard the cards can seem powerful. You know, maybe a good example is, okay, this is not a great example, but a card like Aetherworks Marvel, very powerful in standard, worthless outside of it. Doesn't even see play in Pioneer. But Marvel was too powerful in standard. But I'm just saying, you know, make cards that are good within standard. You can push the power level of standard if you want. Let them do whatever the hell they want, but make sure that they have like, they're not really gonna see play in modern. Or like, if they do, it just happens to organically move that way and then changes the format slowly. And another thing, like, and I should make a follow-up video about this. I don't know if people really care all that much about the power level of Modern. They say they do. Oh, we hate the powerful cards, this and that. I think they only hate the power level when it comes at their expense. When it comes at like their financial expense, or it pushes out their deck. But you know, like we see the rise of Bant, like Bant Snowblade, we see the rise of Bant Uro decks, which really doesn't look like a control deck, it's more like a Jund deck. So now we see Bant, and we hear, well, I don't know if I should say that Jund is crying about it, but like Jund players are like, hey, you know, the power level of cards, oh, blah, 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 blah. Well, they weren't, when Jund was the top deck of the format, they weren't crying about how their deck was fair and, you know, Bant decks were being oppressed or anything like that. But now that the tables have turned, now people aren't happy about it. People love powerful cards. But the problem is when those powerful cards are expensive. You know, Faithless Looting, who cares if it gets banned? It was like a cheap card. What else? Treasure Cruise. Treasure Cruise gets banned. Who cares? It was like 10 cents. Not a big deal. But when it's Oko and you spent like $50 or $70 on it, now it's a problem. And when it's a card that is adopted by so many decks, it raises the price of it so well because everyone can play it. And I do want to make a follow-up video about this, about how it looks like the cards that are super problematic are the ones that are played by everything. You know, why did Mox Opal eventually got banned? Because it actually ended up getting played by almost everything that could use artifacts. Why did Oko get banned? Played by everything. How about the same thing about the companions? Luris is in almost everything. When you can splash too easily for a card, that becomes a problem. But yeah, it's justified. It's definitely justified. I'm the type of person that will, you know, I just sit back and I adjust as the metagame adjusts, but I understand that, you know, so I'm always shaking up. So that's nothing unusual for me. But I do understand that like Wizards is like rocking the ship, rocking modern, rocking everything, and doing it very, very often, and it's becoming expensive. that is the problem. I think the expense part is the problem over everything else. Not entirely. You know, for example, you take a look at control players 5 years ago, they're crying for Wizards. Wizards, give us something. We're suffering. We need cards. Print us control cards. Where are they? So they print the cards, and yeah, they're gonna cost you money, but you have your upgrades. Same thing with Merfolk. I would love to have, for example, a really good bounce spell for Ensnaring Bridge and a Force of Will. What do? They give me Force of Negation. They give me Brazen Borrower. I don't have to play these cards, but I do appreciate they exist over never existing. And fortunately, I don't think they're going to get, well, I thought Oko wasn't going to get banned, but it got banned. Anyway, so those are my thoughts on it. I do think they should not be pushing standards so much, pushing these cards like crazy. And I really do agree that I think most people enjoy Legacy and Modern when the changes happen, by the way. They always did, but it was a lot slower. You know, it was that the one Siege Rhino eventually in the end is what really changed the format after they banned Treasure Cruise. So it's just a few cards here and there. Fatal Push gets printed, changes everything for the better. But anyway, those are my thoughts. Great question. Great question. Okay, so where am I? Okay, so Tobias Markert, how do you like to budget for Magic? Do you use an allowance system with yourself or anything? Like just basically personally, I don't buy a whole lot of stuff. I'm the type of person that doesn't like to buy a lot of little things. I like to save up for just one big thing. So that's just basically that's basically my personality. I don't own a lot of like junk trinkets unless like it has some like specific purpose. Like I bought this cell phone holder. It's like, I don't know, it cost me like $20. There's a lot of cheaper ones on the market, but it's really sturdy and solid, although it dropped my phone yesterday. But for the most part, like there's a big gap between like really I'm really good with saving money over time. So I save, and then I buy the good stuff. I'm really good with like saving up for the good stuff. So when it comes to Magic, from the perspective of a winning player, it's a bit different because I'm winning and I earn ticks, and the ticks can always be spent on like more entry fees and more decks and more cards. And now I have a sponsor, so I don't even have to buy cards if I have to, because like I didn't really earn that much in ticks because I always had to buy cards and sell cards, and I wouldn't say it broke even, but it ate into my profits really big time. But even when I was a kid, I was just very important about what I prioritize. You know, I tell people like, okay, you want a modern deck? You don't have money? Do you own other cards? Okay, you have a commander deck with like Liliana the Veil and Snapcaster Mage. Do you need those cards in there? Is that important? How often do you use that commander deck? So I find that like when I interrogate people, people have a lot of money, but it's just a matter of where they allocate it, where they want to put it. And for me personally, I am hyper competitive, so all my money doesn't really go into a whole lot of fun cards. It all goes into competitive decks, and I always make sure that I have the resources to buy cards at short notice. If I have to, I will sell cards in order to get the cards that I need. So it's just a matter of where you allocate the resources. I can look at some cards that I have and like, I don't need to own this anymore. These cards aren't important. Okay, I'll sell them to get the appropriate cards that I need. So that's basically how I budget for Magic. I would much more. It'd be better to ask a question who is like not such a winning player, how they budget for Magic. Like, how can I put it? A losing player. I can't put it any better. Like a pony or an actual losing player who, you know, basically pays to play. I don't pay to play anymore because like as I win, I just, you know, basically use that to. I'm infinite basically. I'm infinite. So maybe my perspective is not the one to hear. But yeah, so I don't know how else to comment for that. I hope it was useful though. I hope it was useful. Vanda M. Hi Nikachu, what basic lands do you use? I mean, from which sets and which set/sets? So these days I'm either using the Snow-Covered Island from Modern Horizons, and you do want to play the Snow-Covered Island In Merfolk, because if you go turn 1 island pass, you still want to give your opponent the illusion that you're a snow deck. You want to give them the illusion that you are a control. You could be Bant Control, you could be Wurza, you could be some Urza deck, because basically all the blue decks are a snow deck. So if you play basic island that's not snow and you pass, your opponent already knows, okay, you're not a control deck, you're not one of the Urza decks, you're not a snow, you're not any of those snow Stoneblade decks. So what could you be? You're probably Merfolk. So you actually, if you don't play with the snowlands, you actually narrow down what you could be very, very quickly. That being said, if I really want to, I play with the Unstable Island. I really like that art by John Avon. I love the rocky look, the mist, the birds in the image. Beautiful. I love it. Excellent composition. The Cody Hope. People often complain about their modern deck not being playable anymore. How many years should a modern deck be playable before it gets outclassed? Hard to say. It's hard to say. Some decks can be good only because they're decks are good for different reasons. Sometimes a deck is good because it is jammed with enough powerful cards that it can hold its own. That has generally been the case for Jund for a long time. Played with Thoughtseize and Inquisition, played with the best efficient removal, and just played with a bunch of really good creatures like Tarmogoyf, Dark Confidant, and friends. But sometimes the power level of cards don't matter. Sometimes a deck is good because it's well positioned in the metagame, like certain decks disappeared. Now another deck can come into prominence, and that deck by default is not very good in Modern. I would say Boggles is a really good example. Sometimes Boggles is very good, and very often it's not. But it's an archetype that always can come back when the time is right. Sometimes you could say the same thing with Burn. Usually Burn is around, but sometimes Burn is like super tier 1, pending what the metagame looks like, especially when it goes to Hell. But sometimes, people start bringing out the Leyline of Sanctities or the Core Firewalkers for one reason or another, and it just gets crushed. So decks can be good or bad for a lot of reasons, and because some decks can be positioned sometimes and not always all times, I don't know if there's like a good guideline for how long a modern deck should exist. I don't know if you can say a deck should definitely exist all the time, consistently for 3 or 4 years. Because maybe for 1 year, there's going to be another deck that just destroys it. And now all of a sudden, you're like a tier 2 deck. And if you aren't the type of person that's willing to play with a tier 2 deck, then you're just going to dump it immediately. Infect was definitely playable after Gitaxian Probe got banned, but the metagame share just collapsed because people aren't willing to play. There's a huge range of players that are not willing to play with a tier 2 deck. Simple as that. They will not play a tier 2 deck. They will not put the effort in to win or try. They will not go the extra distance or play Magic on hard mode. They only want the easy wins, and they will just jump to whatever deck gives them the easiest wins possible in Modern. Simple as that. Because technically, almost anything is still playable. I still think Hardened Scales Affinity is playable even after they banned Mox Opal and even after they banned Lurrus. They have the Ozolith. I think the deck has a lot of game to it. But most people aren't going to want to adopt it like they adopted the old Hardened Scales Affinity deck. So I don't know how long a modern deck should be because it's really hard. There's so many factors that can put a deck into position or out of position all the time. And what it just comes down to is how much the community can stick with the deck. And right now, Merfolk is still around because the community loves the deck. We still have hardcore Merfolk players. Merfolk is not going to 0. We're not fairies. We're not going to 0. We're going to stay at that 1%. Hold on to it for dear life and for forever. Redhead Kid, thoughts and advice for Bogles. Yes, if you have a sideboard guide, follow it. I did not follow my sideboard guide. My sideboard guide always said, bring in Dismember, bring in Path to Exile. I'm like, what do I need these cards for? Forget it. I'm not going to bring in these cards. I want to keep the other cards. And then in the end, my opponent keeps playing Spellskite against me, and I lost over and over and over and over and over again with Spellskite against Spellskite. So I would say find a sideboard guide, stick to the damn thing. If you can't think for yourself, let that sideboard guide think for you, because that was my biggest mistake when I was playing Boggles at the time. Eddie TE, what are your opinions on modern Infect at the moment? So I brushed upon this in like earlier videos. I think Infect is definitely a good deck to grind in modern leagues. It is like just generally good against a lot of archetypes. I would say well, I don't know how well positioned it is now with the companions because the level of removal has just ramped up because, you know, like a lot of these companion decks, at least the Lurus decks, are playing with a ton of cheap removal. They want to play with Seal of Fire and stuff like that. So I'm not sure how well positioned it is exactly right now, but in general, it's a really good, strong, powerful deck. And it has some easy free wins. I mean, there's ad nauseum in the format. You just blow that thing away. Um, Eldrazi Tron is like moving up and down in like, you know, confidence. It was really down, and then it has like some good results in the last weekend. So like maybe it's going up, and it might move up and down. Because the what I would like to say is, Infect is very good at grinding 5/0s, but not good at grinding, or not good at placing well in an open event. Because you can play against 5 random decks, that's fine, and beat them. But in an open event, you have to play against the cream of the crop. And eventually you're going to run into like either the Lurus decks or the Chalice of the Void decks, like Eldrazi Tron. And eventually you're going to get your ass kicked. So that was the problem with Infect. It was gaining a lot of meta share prior to Ikoria. It was doing really well in the leagues, but it could not break a certain ceiling in open events. It just couldn't break through because the top 32 were like all these Eldrazi Trons and Mono Red Prowess that like with Lava Darts shoot all your stuff down. So there was just the top of the meta game in those open events were just nightmares for the Infect player. So otherwise, I would say Infect, fine deck to grind in a like in any event that has the rounds capped, no top 8. But in an open event with top 8, might have some trouble. You got to dodge some silver bullets in order to do well. That's my opinion. Endgame asks, what's your definition to a fair deck? A fair deck is not in my opinion, a fair deck is any deck that is not capable of winning by like turn 3. That is basically my my definition of a fair deck. Like if you're winning turns 4 plus, that is, or like I don't want to say like Storm wins like turn 6 and 7, but that's not a fair deck. I would have to think about it longer, but I always judge a deck based on how consistently it can win very early on in the game. Like if it's winning on turn 1, 2, and 3, that's not fair. That's trying to dodge interaction. But if you're trying to win by turn 4, you gave your opponent a fair chance to try to interact with you. I don't care what that deck is. Your opponent had a chance, and if they failed to do what they were going to do, then whatever. I think that's fair. But I might have to think about it harder for a much better definition. Gavin Stewart, would you consider playing a match or a league in a live stream? I would absolutely. Well, I mean, that's what we're waiting for the computer for. When we start getting on Twitch, we're going to start doing some live gameplay. I don't know how much, because I definitely want to keep this going. This is definitely going to be a big part of my Twitch streams, but we are definitely going to get gameplays. Like, I don't know, maybe we will start off everything with Q&A in the morning, and then we move on to the, we move on to the gameplay for the, I don't know, another 2 hours or so. So gonna have to figure it out. We're gonna have to figure it out, but definitely that is on the table. Michael Cape, what's the time frame for your new computer? Oh, I looked at the tracking number. My last part is in Winnipeg. It's in my city. I don't know when it's gonna come. So like it's here. It's in the city. I'm just waiting for it. No, the real pisser with Canada Post is lately they have not been delivering a single package to my residence. Not one. They don't send anything here anymore. All they do is they don't buzz me. Nothing. What they do is they give the sticker or whatever, the notice. Tried to catch you, we missed you at this time, come pick up your package. And what that has ended up doing is that the local post office has this enormous line behind it. They're just not delivering the packages. They're just not doing shit about it. It has this enormous line of people waiting like to pick up their stuff. So anyway, so I might still have to go through a few more things, a few more steps in order to get that thing, but I'm really excited. Hopefully if I get it today, I'll be able to get it get the computer assembled maybe by Friday, and then hopefully I'll learn Twitch over the weekend, and we start moving the stream to Twitch by Monday. Remember, if you're not a Twitch follower, follow me at twitch.tv/Nikachu MTG. Remember, .tv. If you're not familiar with Twitch, it's not twitch.com, it's twitch.tv. And like I got almost 50 followers already. Fantastic. I have not streamed a single thing, and I'm pretty much affiliate. We've already made it to affiliate. So question marks. Cash Cat for life. How do you feel about a Modern Horizons 2 set? Does it make it harder to keep your deck that people had for years, or does it help gain more modern players? Okay, so the good thing about, Modern Horizons gave us a lot of good things. It gave us answers, and I do like that they print aggressive answers. I just don't like them printing aggressive cards. Like fuck, what is with this Hogak card? This was a stupid idea. That was really stupid. But Force of Vigor, Force of Negation, Collector Oof, the Horizon Cycle, this is good. This helps enable a lot of archetypes, and it also gives us tools to fight back against some stupid decks. One problem about Mox Opal and all the affinity decks is that there was like one hate card, and it was Stony Silence, and you have the only deck that has access to that is white. Now we have, like, I think a relatively sufficient number of answers against like artifact decks. Krark Clan Ironworks probably could get unbanned. Like, if you don't have any answer for this card, well, I mean, you might be in a serious amount of trouble anyway. Like, there's so much hate now for Krark Clan Ironworks. We've got Collector Oof, and now Karn the Great Creator, and Stony Silence, and Force of Vigor, and like just a crap load of graveyard hate. So we might have sufficient answers for Krark Clan Ironworks in today's metagame that we didn't have in the past. And that's what we needed. We needed sufficient answers for a bunch of other stuff. Overall, I don't think these sets are that great. I think what Modern really needs are more just regular reprint sets. Sets that reprint Ether, like Modern Masters was very well received. Print stuff like Ether Vial, print stuff like Brazen Borrower, print Karn, again, print Ugin, print print the staples. This is an easy way for people to, this is a very easy way for wizards to make money, and it is what the people want. This is what the people want. People want at least the prices to come down a little bit, or at least not stabilize to a point that they don't go higher. In some cases, they should try to help collapse the price of some cards. I don't think they're going to do that because, they want to make money off of Modern, so they're just going to keep the prices stable, not necessarily like crush them to nothing. Oh yeah, if you're getting value out of the stream, crush the like button. Crush the like button. If you like this, if you're finding these sets, we need new cards. Like, couldn't they just print the Horizon lands in Standard? Is that so bad? Is it so bad to print Collector Oof? I understand that there are some weird cards that don't belong, like Damping Sphere was a very bizarre card to print in Standard, but how about you make Modern Masters with reprints plus new cards? Just a few cards. You sprinkle in some new stuff. Why not? Why can't you do that? I think it's possible. So I actually don't think we need things like Modern Horizons. I don't mind the idea of like print to modern cards, but they have to be very careful. Not pushed, just print stuff, give us the answers to the problems that we have in Modern. People seem to be more upset about when Mox Opal gets banned, but a lot less upset when Karn the Great Creator gets printed. Karn the Great Creator gets printed and Affinity gets hosed. It's like, well, that's just how it is. Mox Opal gets banned. Oh, you banned my Mox Opal. Now my Affinity deck is dead. So, people see, if you need to correct things in Modern, it is better to do it with answers than to actually ban cards. People seem to be fine with playing with a really expensive Mox Opal, even though it's useless in their deck. Great question. Great question. Pablo asks, what is the less expensive and competitive deck for Modern? Thank you for the previous answer. So what is less expensive for you, though? Like $500, $100? Like usually when I made a budget deck, it was around the $80, oh, sorry, like the $100 amount. Like what is the most, like the least costly, what is the least costly deck that is the most powerful? I actually don't know right now. Maybe Burn? Because you can play with some budget lands. Because you don't need all the best fetch lands. Like it's so Burn's mana base is so deceptive. Because you can play like any red fetch land. You don't need to play with Scalding Tarn. Your advantages that you get with Scalding Tarn are really overrated. Maybe Mono Red Prowess. One of those decks is probably possible. Colgate. Do you think Cycle Storm will get something banned in Pauper? I have no idea. Sorry, I don't play Pauper, so I can't really speak on behalf of Cycle Storm. I mean, I saw the Cody Hope play a Cycle deck. Oh, that's not exactly the same. It's like a Cycle control deck almost. So it's not quite the same. But I'd love to give it an opinion, but I didn't even know that was a deck. I had no idea. Do I hear meowing? Maybe not. I think Salute is stuck on the balcony. I closed the door on him, but usually he sleeps out there for 5 hours anyway. Let's see. Whoops. What is going on here? I don't have power? This thing's not working? Alright, so... PO1980, so you're going to play Merfolk Leagues on Twitch? I'll follow. Yes, I will play Merfolk Leagues, and I am going to be fighting the stream snipers. I am 100% aware that I am going to get sniped like crazy, and we are definitely going to lose percentage points, but that's just the name of the game. So the tough part about streaming is that people will cheat against you. And I do believe it's cheating. I don't think the fact that I am playing publicly for a lot of other people gives you the right, as my opponent, to come check out my stream to get an advantage. You are an absolute cheater. You are scum. You are a disgrace. If you think you need to get an advantage like that, you're absolutely awful as a competitor to the game. And I wish there was some way to ban these people, for Wizards to take action. But the problem is, like, you can't prove exactly that the username in your chat is the exact person that you're playing against. But so streamers are just on a negative free roll. Like, you have nothing to gain, everything to lose. But we'll do it. I'm just gonna do it for the leagues. Like, we're just gonna do this for, like, as far as I'm concerned, the leagues are just for fun, and it's just for a learning experience anyway. Do you know what? You can if you look at my hand, whatever. I can already see your hand because I'm a poker player. I can see it into your soul. So that is the disadvantage to playing playing public, and it happens. It just happens. So I know the name. I know the game. So I'm just not ever going to stream any like premier events. So like any challenges, those will always be private to myself. And I also want to focus the most attention to them as well. So like the streaming, we're just going to enjoy ourselves and play and, see what happens. But yes, I am open to doing that in the future. And then hopefully, if it's well received, more well received than, or as equal well received as the Q&As, we will continue to do it. Majesty says, "What if my soul is empty?" What is going on? Oh, Salute really wants to get inside. Hold on. Hold on, Salute, I'm going to save you. I didn't hear you. You need to pee or something? Here, I'll just let you go. Wow, you are crying. I thought I heard you, but I didn't. I did not see you. Sorry, Salute. You want to say hi to everybody? Salute, come. Are you scared? Say hello, Salute. Hello. Salute, you're okay. It's okay. I didn't forget you. It's okay. It's okay. Well, can anyone see the fur flying everywhere? It's like everywhere. He sheds like crazy. Oh, Salute is happy. Salute! You're the only cat around here. Okay, here. Go sit on my binder or something. There's the one thing Salute likes to do. It's sitting on things. The whole table can be empty. The whole table can be empty, but the only place he'll sit is like on my iPad or something. He's got to sit on something that's not the flat surface. It's ridiculous. Da, 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 da. Gavin Stewart, I'm working on. Oh no, this is like an old thing. Where I gotta get back to the program here. We're over an hour. Who cares? I'm doing pretty good today. Let's answer some more stuff. We'll go for another. What is it? 70 minutes. Okay, we'll go for another 20 minutes. We'll go for another 20 minutes. I lost my place. Point Dexter says, is there a place for Phase Golfin in a Merfolk deck? I have no idea what that is. Phase Dolphin? Okay, I'll quickly look it up. What is a Phase Dolphin? I'm curious. Phase Dolphin. This is an actual card. Phase Dolphin is whenever Phase Dolphin attacks, another target attacking creature can't be blocked this turn. It is a whale. It is a 1/4 for 3 mana. This is absolutely unplayable. This is unplayable. It does not have a place in my Merfolk deck. Where's... Even with the question marks, I'm missing people. Daniel Wilcox, what do you think about getting a live Merfolk panel together with you, Lord Magicus, Merfolk Joe, and Cody from Fishin' the Podcast? It's possible. It's possible. Like I'm totally open to doing things with other content creators, and definitely through the live streams, I would love to have guests on because my brother's not going to be around all the time, so we're going to have space to have people, to have guests on the on the stream. Like when we stream, we're gonna do it serious. We're gonna have fun. We're gonna do things, all right? So long as they're available while I'm available, it might be a little difficult because I'm only gonna be streaming like during the mornings while my girlfriend is at work. So long as they are available, we are definitely doing stuff like that. The Merfolk panel, but you have to be playing Merfolk to be on the panel. Okay, Aces Hammond. Nikachu, how do you feel about mana bases being so expensive for Modern? I understand win conditions and unique answers being $40 plus, but reprinting lands should be better managed. I understand people's concerns. I don't really have a strong opinion about this because, how do I put it? I know the most ideal optimal mana base is still going to require fetch lands and shock lands and stuff like that. But at the same time, I understand that Wizards is looking at Modern like it's going to be a luxury format. Like, if you can spend hundreds of dollars on reserved list dual lands, then you can spend hundreds of dollars on Modern lands. So that's and I don't say that that's the right thing to do, but I understand why they're doing it. Modern is now legacy in Wizards' mind. If you can spend so much money on legacy, you are now going to spend so much money on Modern. And to some extent, I think, like, we know buying into an Underground Sea is fine because there will never be a better card than that. And at the same time, I think people should have the mindset of buying into fetch lands are fine because there probably isn't going to be a better land than that either. Like, your investment is going to be good. Somehow people, you know, they're just like throwing money away on reserve list cards, but when it comes to like fetch lands, it's a little bit more awkward. It's a tough conversation to have because I do, in my opinion, Wizards is making Modern the luxury format, just like Legacy was. Like, if you can spend between $1,000 and $2,000 on a deck, then you can do the same thing in Modern. And like, I don't know how many budget decks were available in Legacy, but I don't. Well, like, for example, I just don't know if anyone really tried. Maybe people just didn't try because that just wasn't a thing you could do in Legacy, and maybe that's just not something Wizards is trying to enable for Modern. But I think if Wizards... The thing is, Wizards can control the price range. So if people can afford to spend, or if people are willing to spend between $1,000 and $2,000 on Legacy, but they are not willing to spend more on that as the price of Legacy goes up. They can manage that $1,000 to $2,000 level in Modern, and we're not even there actually. I mean, the majority of decks are like between $500 and $1,200. So in the grand scheme of things, Modern is still like cheaper than Legacy was on average in the past, like at the height of Legacy. So I'm sort of the opinion that like a deck overall should be around a certain price range, and that if including the lands it is that price range, that's okay, as long as there's still a lot of diversity. But I totally understand the other point of view that lands should be cheap or relatively cheap to perhaps enable a lot of other decks that could use them. Don't know how that works from Wizards' perspective. Good morning, Cody. Oh, we got a super chat from Lord Magicus. Lord Magicus with the super chats. Hearts. Cats are secretly dragons, and they're mischievous because they're upset about being unable to shape-shift back into dragon form. That is a fantastic theory. Are you afraid? Are you disappointed, Salute? You cannot be a dragon anymore? Did you screw up? Did you turn yourself into a fuzzy little creature? You have a lot of other aspects of the dragon. You've got the teeth, you've got the tail, you lost the wings. Cody asks, how do we do super chats? I don't know. You know, when I first saw the first super chat, like that's a problem with YouTube. Like, why don't you make it easy to make like donate money to these things? It's easy on Twitch. They got like buy buttons all over the damn place. Let's see. Are there any other questions? Hey, what are you doing? Don't you break any glass stuff. If you're going to be around, you have to be on the show. You have to be on the show. I should have something up here so that Salute can sit on or something of that nature. Maximilian Silva, I was wondering what your relationship with a professor from Tulare Community College is like, since he is quite fond of Merfolk too. Just curious. I have no connection to him. We don't talk or anything like that. Once in a while, he messages me to do some random collaboration. That's it. That's basically it. Is that it for the questions? We actually went through. I might have skipped many questions. Remember, if you have a question, do the triple question mark before and after your question so I can see it, because otherwise I'm like reading through the entire chat, all the comments, and then I might end up missing a question. So if you had a question, rewrite it with the triple question mark at the beginning and the end. That way I can very easily find it and then respond to it. Gavin Stewart, what deck would you play if there was no more Merfolk? It could be Spirits, could be Death Shadow, could be Blue Moon, could be something like that. I wouldn't mind playing the Kiki Fairies thing again. Like, I started thinking about Kiki Fairies again in my head. But instead of just Pestermite, I just go the full Kiki combo. We just play with 3 Kiki Jiki, 4 Pestermites, or maybe 4 Pestermites, 2 or 3 Deceiver Exarchs, and then the rest of it is fairies. So I can play a fairy tribal deck, but at the same time have that combo kill available when I need it. Because there's actually cool things to do with Aether Vial that I didn't even think about when I originally designed my Kiki Fairies deck. If you've got 4 mana in play and Aether Vial on 3, you basically win the game if you've got the combo. Because what you do is you float 4 mana, you Vial in Pestermite, untap one of the lands, and boom, you have a turn 4 kill with Kiki Jiki. So that is, I think there's something there. I really think Pestermite and Kiki Jiki is undervalued, underrated, especially since 5 mana Kiki Jiki can at least target something and get value out of it. So it's not completely useless. It's not completely useless. Joe Ridey, thoughts on the legacy bans? Well, I think having infinite mana with Zerda is a pretty stupid thing. So I'm gonna if they ban that thing prematurely, that means that deck was killing it, absolutely killing it. So that had to have been a justified ban. I bet the win rate was like over 80% or something. Like it had to have been something stupid for them to take action on it like that. And the Lurrus ban was definitely justified. Like we all know that Lurrus is going to get banned everywhere. And I think they were just trying to appease the legacy and vintage communities where Lurrus is like super out of control because the mana, like the decks are basically already designed for Lurrus, and it's making like those formats like a living hell. So, and like I don't think the community, the legacy and vintage community, is so strong or so large that they can make good money off of Lurrus. So they basically banned it early enough for those formats, and they're like living it out for modern. But here's the weird thing. Like I heard just a day ago, like Lurrus costs $6. How much money can you really make off of modern like that? So there might be other reasons other than just money that they want to keep the companions around. Or I don't know, like maybe that $6 goes a long way, because it's not just $6. You know, Lurrus is just $6, but the companions combined might actually add value to the set. So, you know, maybe I'm thinking prematurely here. It's not just one companion, it's several companions together make up the EV of a set, whereas like one Oko, maybe all the money is on one card sometimes before they ban it. Sandro Kosh, how should a Merfolk toolbox look like? I will make a video on that, especially when I get my computer. I will make a Merfolk toolbox video. All the cards that I think are necessary / you know, should have around just in case. But definitely, I would have Chalice of the Void in the toolbox. Whether it's good now or not, I would have that because it's definitely a card that always comes up over time that you need. So I would definitely have Chalice of the Void available. What else should I have? Yeah, that's all I can think about. But it's definitely gonna have like a little bit of everything, no matter what the metagame will like shove in your face. That being said, there's like a lot of outdated cards now in my Merfolk toolbox. Like I don't think I'm gonna visit Remand again. I don't think I'm gonna be playing with Unified Will again. I don't think there's like a lot of cards I think are now pretty dated, and I can update the toolbox for like cards which we really need. Oh, Hoonster Meow, what is your opinion on the historic format? I think that format's awesome. I think it's very balanced. I think there are a lot of very interesting decks. I think there's a lot of room for innovation that no one's exploring. Because I was like skyrocketing up the limits with Merfolk, and like who knows what other archetypes can exist. It's still in that format that have not been explored. So maybe there's a pirate deck. Maybe there's a spirits deck. So like Empyrean Eagle is legal in historic. Plus you have Supreme Phantom. So there you've got you've got like the two core spirit lords. Maybe there's a spirits deck in historic. Like did no one realize? I didn't realize that Empyrean Eagle is legal in historic. So it's a pretty big deal. Maybe there's a spirits deck. So there's a lot of room for exploration in that format. Anyway, I think it's really balanced. I love playing best of one. I love moving up the ranks. I love playing on Arena if I can. If the moment they have Modern on there, I'm dumping Magic the Gathering Online. Just gonna sell out of the whole thing. Like I have nothing against Magic the Gathering Online, but Arena is just much more stimulating and a lot more fun to play on. And easier. I'm not like clicking past priority a million times. I like just playing my spells, and they do everything for me. I don't care if I give up any advantage because I'm auto passing or the program's auto passing for me. Brian Gnomes, do you have any plans of doing a collab with the prof? Nope. Basically the onus is on him. If he wants to do I'm certain he's an incredibly busy person. If he wants to do a collab with me, I'm always open. If not, that's all good. Generally, it's the top people asking down, not the other way around. Although, you know, I have nothing against people, you know, hey, if you want, take a shot and ask content creators larger than you. You never know when they'll say yes. I personally am doing, you know, whatever. If you got a YouTube channel with almost any videos on it, you know, DM me. Let's see what we can do. Majesty Blade. I believe currently the deck is not top tier but can compete. It's a deck that doesn't care about running Bobble. What's your opinion about Boggles today? Really strong. Like it's done really well in the not just the leagues, but also the preliminary events. It's done well in the opens, and I can understand why it's well positioned. Chalice of the Void numbers are really down because Eldrazi Tron players are playing other things right now. Eldrazi Tron is down. And also because of Lurrus, Liliana the Veil is down in numbers. So the classic card that would edict your Boggle away is down. So a lot of there's a lot of cards that Boggles was afraid of. Like, they don't care about Seal of Fire or Fatal Push or Lightning Bolt or any of this other garbage. So I think Boggles is in really good shape. Selesnya Boggle is really, really strong. Only right now. What are you doing, Salute? Don't knock my phone off. Don't knock my phone off. If you're gonna be here, you have to be part of the show. He doesn't really like being held, but you know, whatever. Andra says, do you think that Lurrus was designed? Don't touch me with your feet. His pee feet. He pees on his feet. Smells like urine. Don't touch my face. I'm gonna wash my arms and hands. Andra says, do you think that Lurrus was designed for Eternal formats or just a way overlooked standard card? I think it was designed for Eternal formats, because I don't think their card pool for standard was that big enough. I don't think they meant it to definitely, like, oh, we gotta make this is an Eternal card, it's not being played for standard. I think they built it for standard, but then tweaked it in such a way that they thought that it was going to see play in modern and legacy and vintage. They adjusted it enough that, like, yeah, they could just eyeball it. Yeah, this is going to see play. That's good. That's good. It's going to see play. That's good. But obviously it was too much, and you know, and now it's a catastrophic problem. Okay, last question. Niels asks, oh, well, okay, there's some other questions. What do you think is better, Beatles or the Rolling Stones? I don't watch either of them or listen to either of them, sorry. So Niels asks, what decks do you recommend for a player who wants to play a more difficult deck for a second modern deck? I thought about Amulet Titan. Is that good in the meta right now? It is very good in the meta right now. It is a very powerful deck. And I think so long as Blood Moon is not one of the top cards in the format, which it is not, so long as Arcum's Astrolabe is one of the better cards in the format, Blood Moon is going to be very low. Amulet Titan is a very good deck to buy into. From what I hear, F. Pavlush, who's the Amulet Titan master, just crushing people with this deck to the point where he's like bored and he wants to play some other stuff. So Amulet Titan is very, very well positioned. All right, so that's going to be it for today. I got to publish more stuff and get us some other things done. I actually have to do some running around today. I got to go pick up a keyboard for my computer. My God, it was awful trying to research what to do first, like for a keyboard. Like, do I want a mechanical keyboard? Do I not? I was like looking at chiclet keyboards. If you've never researched keyboards before, I wasted a lot of time researching keyboards. I spent like a lot of days. I figured I should just buy, like, some of these keyboards are expensive. They're hundreds of dollars. What the hell? Why do they make the keyboard so expensive? Why can't I just play with some crap so that doesn't make any sound? I was very happy with my Apple keyboard all these years. So anyway, thank you very much for the super chats. Thank you very much for the conversation. I hope we all learned something today. I hope the conversation was good. Mechanical keyboard. You won't go back to a non-mechanical. Yeah, but the thing is, as like a streamer, like, okay, let me know, like, how annoying is it, the sound of like the computer keys from like streamers? Like, do you like the sound of computer keys? Do you not like the sound of computer keys? Like, I have RTX voice that's going to be on my new computer. So what it does is it's going to nail out all the background noise. So you're never going to hear the computer keys. But I was always so concerned about sound the noise level of my videos. I wanted to keep everything quiet. I hid the fan. I closed the windows. I was sweating in my room so you don't hear the ambulance that's driving down the street. I always made sure things are quiet, but like I'm very curious. Thanks, Nikachu. P.S. I'm still on my $10 keys. All right. So like no problem with keyboard noises. Like I listened to a stream with like clearly a mechanical keyboard and I didn't mind it. I thought it was cool, but like it wasn't too like jarring to hear, to listen to. Don't want to hear you typing. So that some people, no problem with keyboard noises. To be fair, no sound is more neutral. Yeah, I totally agree. So some people can probably tolerate the sound of mechanical keyboards, but if you can't, like honestly, if it's like greater than 15%, I will go out of the way so that nobody hears it. So I was trying to make, should I make it quiet? Should I not? Like I personally don't mind. I like tactile feeling, the tactile feeling of keyboards. Keyboard clicking belongs in ASMR only. That's interesting. That's a category of videos that I am not really in tune with. I always see these ASMR things of just people being really quiet, being very quiet with their voice, and eating things as well. Didn't know keyboard was a part of that thing. But yeah, so I have to go out and go pick that up because I do not have a keyboard for this computer. I just realized that. I have a computer, but I have no keyboard for it. So I got to pick up the keyboard. Thank you very much for joining me today. Okay, tomorrow, this is very important. Tomorrow, the thing is going to start earlier. It's going to start at 9 o'clock Central Standard Time, so 1 hour before that we usually do. That's just how it is, given my schedule. And then maybe in the long run, I'll always have it at the same time. Or maybe we'll just, I don't know, pending how well it does at 9 o'clock, maybe we'll just start them at 9 o'clock earlier in the morning and then finish them at 10. I'll see what it's like. We're gonna play it by ear. But remember, 1 hour earlier tomorrow, you'll see me. You'll have the bell notification on. Everyone's getting warned. So anyway, thank you very much for hanging out, joining me for a coffee, and I will see you tomorrow. Take care. Bye bye.